we're going to be doing some stuff here that's pretty crazy, pretty weird math. So if this is difficult, it should be. It is kind of a crazy out there thing that we're going to be doing. So just be prepared and do your best. And if you need help, feel free to ask for it. So what we're going to look at here, we've got a fraction with a radical, a root symbol in the denominator. And the rule for simplification says that in order to have a simplified fraction, you can't have a radical symbol in the denominator. It can be in the numerator, but not in the denominator. So what we want to do is we want to get rid of this. Now, what we can do is we can actually do the same kind of thing as if we were simplifying a fraction or we were looking to find a common denominator of a fraction, which is what we're going to do is we're going to take this fraction and we are going to multiply it. That's a multiplication symbol. We're going to multiply it by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. So when you multiply this out, on top you end up with 10 square root of 2. Pretty simple. On the bottom you have the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, which is really the same thing as the square root of 4. And we happen to know the square root of 2, square root of 4 is really just 2. So we end up with 10 square roots of 2 divided by 2, which 10 times the square root of 2 divided by 2, we can break this up and basically just divide the 10 by the 2, and we end up with 5 square roots of 2. And so, simplified, we have 10 square roots of 2 divided by the square root of 2 becomes 5 square roots of 2. And that's basically how that works. Now, this is the easy version of this. You guys are going to get sick of me saying that if you aren't already. This is the easy version of this. The hard version is when you have something like this as your denominator. So this is 3 divided by the sum of 5 and the square root of 2. This is a much bigger mess. So what we're going to use in order to look at this is we're going to use a concept of a special product that we used from quadratics, which was when we had something like x plus 2 times x minus 2. What ended up happening was we got x squared, and then the x plus 2 from this right here, or the x minus 2 from that, and the x plus 2 from that, right, from FOIL. We did our first, we do our outside, then we do our inside. Those two cancel each other out because it's negative 2x and positive 2x. And then we have 2 times negative 2 minus, and this would be 2 squared. Minus 2 squared, because we're taking 2 and negative 2. So remember this process, we used it a fair bit in special products. We're going to use this idea over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both the top and the bottom times 5 minus the square root of 2. So, and we're doing this both the top and the bottom because what is 5 minus the square root of 2 divided by 5 minus the square root of 2? Well, that would be 1. So we're really multiplying it by another weird looking 1, just like if we were going to multiply it by 6 over 6 or 7 over 7 or anything that we do when working with fractions. So same idea here. We're basically kind of finding a common denominator. Now, what do we actually need to go ahead and do? Well, down here, what we have 5 plus the square root of 2 times 5 minus the square root of 2. And as we saw over here, what we're going to end up with is we're going to end up with 5 squared minus the square root of 2 squared. Now, the square root of 2 squared is the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, which would be the square root of 4. So this is 25 minus the square root of 4. And that becomes our new denominator. However, 25 minus the square root of 4, we can look at that and be like, wait a minute, square root of 4 is just 2. 25 minus 2 happens to be 23. So we've made our denominator now 23. Now we need to do our numerator. Our numerator is pretty simple because it's just 3 times 5 minus the square root of 2. 3 times 5 is 15. and the 3 times the square root of 2 is 3 square roots of 2. So our numerator over here, and I'm going to change this back to this color, so 23, and our numerator is 15 minus 3 square root of 2. 3 times the square root of 2. And that's it. Now, this is what it looks like simplified, which this is why this is pants on fire crazy, is because we've taken this right here, which looks nice and pretty simple, and simplified it into this right here. But it's important to realize what we did. We got the radical symbol out of the denominator. Our root is now in the numerator, not in the denominator. And that's a really important distinction because this right here is a simplified fraction. I know that's crazy, but that is a simplified fraction, and that is not a simplified fraction. Okay? So that's the process for this, and the big thing to pay attention to is going to be in this symbol right here. If this is a positive, if this is an addition sign, then you're going to multiply it over here with a negative sign. If that first symbol is a negative sign, is a subtraction sign, then we're going to go ahead and multiply it by the positive because we want these two to be able to cancel out the middle. And as long as you have those two terms there, you're always going to end up with a whole number with a number as your denominator, not a radical. So you'll always end up with an integer as your denominator, or a rational number as your denominator, but you won't end up with a radical as your denominator. So good luck, have fun, give it a try, and don't be too surprised if you struggle because this is really difficult stuff.